I have to go get some x-rays done so they can see what is new, what has changed from my hip surgery. So I'm anxious to hear what the doctor has to say about all of the stuff concerning my hip. Let's find out together. We have a pretty big day today. What are you doing?
I'm getting my hair done.
Nice.
I have an appointment in like 5 minutes. I need to go. And I have a photo shoot this weekend, so that's why. I'm all over the place. The kids are like,
I have my very first surgical appointment. I have an appointment with the doctors who did my surgery 10 years ago to see what we can do next. So yeah, pretty big day today.
Tommy locked himself in my room.
Uh-oh, should we go save him?
Yeah.
Tommy, are you in there? Uh-oh, it's locked. Do you know how to unlock the door?
Unlock it.
Yeah, unlock it. Looks like we're gonna have to pull out the tools.
are you kidding me?
This little guy has been used so often since we've moved in here because we have those dumb door handles. All right, Tommy, here I come. Hi! Are you okay? Oh, come here. Were you sad because you got stuck in there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but guess what? It was only like 2.5 minutes. So we are nearing the time that I have my appointment. Right now, as I'm filming this, it's in about a week. And in order to prep for the appointment, I have to go get some x-rays done so they can see what is new, what has changed from my hip surgery. I'm really hoping I can get access to these x-rays so I can show you exactly. I want to show the kids the screw that is still in my hip because I think that will be absolutely crazy for them to see. But it'll also be interesting to compare my old x-rays to what they are now and see if I, as a regular human being, can see any difference.
Are you nervous?
I'm a little nervous. I mean, it's always something that is like, what's gonna happen next? Are they gonna see anything? It's that whole thing over again. I hope they find something wrong. Because if they don't, it's that, well then what the heck is wrong with me? Here's my outfit now. Here's these, and let's put them on. Okay, I'm either ready for a nap or some x-rays. I'm all done with my x-rays, and the good news is, it didn't take that long. It was actually pretty quick. The bad news about that whole situation is it totally brought in all of these memories and painful feelings that I had when I would go through the initial process for the surgery. They would put me in these positions and have me hold there for a little bit, and it would hurt a lot. The frog leg position, turning my toes in, it's really painful for my hips, both of my hips, and holding that for even just a little bit kind of sucks. I wanted to do something in lieu of my appointment coming up in just about an hour. I wanted to give you guys what I would like to call a history of hip pain felt by Jared Mecham. I've talked about my hip pain a lot on this channel, but I don't think I've ever done a full overview from the very beginning to today about what's happened and what I've had done. So I want to do that as quick as I possibly can on this whiteboard. Between 1998 and 2000, I played Little League football or youth football. And it was the first time that I ever had a real injury to the point where I had to have physical therapy done. And this time right here, when I got injured and went to physical therapy, that's where I fell in love with anatomy and I wanted to become a physical therapist. So I played football every year in school up until 2004. And that was when I was in high school and I had another hip injury. I loved football, it was so great, but ultimately my hip could not keep up with the physical intensity that is required in football. I had a choice. The choice was between football and pole vaulting. My physical therapist said, you need to make a choice. Either you keep beating your body down with football, or you do something that you enjoy and isn't as intense, like pole vaulting. I got rid of football and I stuck with pole vaulting. In 2006, I went to college and I was actually able to pole vault for the college that I went to, BYU. I was a recruited walk-on, and that was just an absolute dream come true. Little Jared Mecham becoming an NCAA athlete, unheard of. And unfortunately, it kind of was unheard of because the training was so intense that my hip pain came back even greater than ever before. During this time in 2006, you may have heard my story about the worst MRI I have ever had. It was probably one of the most intense pains I have ever felt, and that's about all I remember from the MRI from HE double hockey sticks. In the spring of 2007, I was just about done with my first year of college, and the hip pain was so bad I could barely walk. Sometimes I was on crutches or even using a walker to get around where I needed to go. After college, I came home and I went to a holistic physical therapist. This was someone that was recommended to me, and literally I went in on crutches and I came out running. It was, in our eyes, a miracle. Because my hip pain had been feeling so much better after that appointment, I was able to go on a mission for my church that you guys know about. I went to Finland and I lived there for a little while. We walked and walked and walked a lot. And unfortunately, in April of 2008, it got bad enough to the point where the mission president, the person who was in charge over there, wanted to send me home for treatment. While I was experiencing pain and going to physical therapy treatments in Finland, I wasn't necessarily told that I would be going home. So that was a huge shock to us. So the first thing that happened when I got home in 2008 is we went back to that physical therapist to see if anything could be done again. And unfortunately, it didn't work as well the first time. So my parents and I were kind of at a loss. We didn't know what to do. Everything that we had tried in the past that did work isn't working anymore. So we went for surgical options. We wanted to see what we could do. So we went to the local orthopedic surgical center and found out that they saw a labral tear in my hip. So I had an arthroscopic surgery to fix that labral tear. It was a very quick surgery. I could walk out on crutches or a walker. It was very minimal. While the recovery for the labral tear surgery was quick, unfortunately, it did not work. My pain was still there. My grandma was watching TV and a University of Utah experimental surgery popped up, asking people if they were experiencing hip pain because a new type of surgery called a perioacetabular osteotomy was undergoing testing. So my grandma called my parents up and we flew to Utah. We were living in Washington at the time, and luckily we have lots of family members who are in Utah. I was able to stay at my grandma's house while we did a lot of research and testing about this. And in fact, I was part of a, I guess, focus group for this new, at the time, surgery. So I went to studies. They had lots of balls that they put on me and they tracked my gait or my walk to see exactly what needed to be done before I had the surgery. And in April of 2009, I had the reconstructive hip surgery. And I found a video online that kind of shows what happens, and I'll play it right here. When I saw the video, I was like, holy crap, I cannot believe they did this to my hip. I don't know, it just looked a little more gruesome than I envisioned in my mind. I know they broke my hip in 3 different places, but when it comes out like that, it's kind of creepy. And you guys know the rest of the story. During my recovery period of 3 months in bed, Ellie and I dated. We fell in love while I was recovering from hip surgery. I started to be able to walk in the fall of that year, and then I proposed to Ellie in August of 2009, and we were married in November of 2009. Over the next 10 years, I would have sporadic hip pain, and here we are in 2020. Another terrible thing about 2020, my hip pain is coming back in full force. My handwriting is not the best, but this is a very basic overview of the hip pain that I have experienced over the years. What's crazy is that this is 20 years of hip pain. 20 years. I don't even feel like I'm 20 years old in my brain, so I'm anxious to hear what the doctor has to say about all of the stuff concerning my hip. Let's find out together. They just sent me the link. Here we go.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Oh, thank goodness.
How are you doing?
Good. I mean, good, but you know.
But we're having trouble. So
Yeah, I mean, we're having this appointment, so I mean, something's up. You probably get that a lot.
Well, it must have been bad because you like didn't talk to anyone on your way out.
I'm trying not to cry.
Did they say nothing's wrong?
No, they didn't say that. I mean, they did say that my hip looks really good and that in the last 10 years there hasn't really been any changes in my hips, which is like a really good sign. My primary concern with all of this is, from what the doctor said, it sounds like a hip replacement at some point is inevitable. And I said, you know, one of my big concerns is that if it's more muscular or with tendons than bones, I don't want to do a hip replacement. Or my fear is that if I do a hip replacement, then I'll have pain after the fact. And I said, I just want to be able to like run and play with my kids and go on hikes and not have to worry about that.
The next day being down.
Yeah, and I said, I've heard so many people get hip replacements and how they just feel so much relief and they're just so happy and they wish they would have done it sooner. And she said, oh, if you get a hip replacement, you won't be able to run. She said, you can, but you know, a hip replacement, we want that to last 15 years or so plus if we can. She said, if you run on it, you'll get 8 years, 5 years out of it. And then we'll have to do another hip replacement and then another hip replacement after that. I just sat there and I was like fighting back the tears. Like,
That's not what you wanted to
yeah,
hear.
it just seems like no matter what happens, I won't be able to have the life that I had before. And I feel like that's really sad, and it's like all I want to do is just like run and play like I used to.
I'm sorry.
It's not the end of the world. I mean, there's hope. This isn't the end of it. It wasn't like, sorry, Jared, you're not going to be able to do any of this ever again. It wasn't that. I feel like that was just a huge reality check that I just wasn't ready to hear.
We just had a cry sesh.
I kind of lost it.
I'm sorry.
Because really what this means is that I probably won't ever be normal again, you know, as normal as I am. But I won't be the Jared that I was before we met, when I was pole vaulting, when I was playing football, when I was doing all of that stuff. But I definitely want to look at the bright side of things. Like, there's definitely things that we can be doing. The next step that we're going to take is a steroid shot, a cortisone shot, and we're going to use that to, one, compare the difference between my left hip and my right hip. My left hip is hurting just as much, and we actually went over that in the x-rays, and you can see the shape of my left hip and where a PAO surgery would actually be beneficial, but it's not something I want to do, especially now. But also to tell if it's more skeletal or muscular, or even with my tendons, what the issue is there.
She said if your pants are even hurting you, it sounds muscular also.
Which would be encouraging. If it's not skeletal, that's encouraging.
So who can tell you that answer?
So the cortisone shot will help that a lot. And then she said some really aggressive physical therapy. I'm discouraged a little bit. It was a reality check, like especially as a dad. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to take steps moving forward. And I'm ultimately glad that everyone's been telling me, just call the doctor, call the doctor, call the doctor, just to start this process over again. What do you think of my history of hip pain bulletin board?
I think it's sad, and I also think it's like, we just got married. They said 10 years and it's been 11 years. Like, This is crazy.
A couple things I want to tell you. First off, I just went through the footage. I recorded the conversation with the doctor and had their permission to do so. And all of the audio was gone. So it's just video of me and the doctor.
Why?
I don't think when I recorded the screen, I selected audio or something.
Are you ticked? You had such a rough day.
It's okay. I have the notes. Like, she types up notes and basically a summary of what we talked about.
Sorry.
I told my parents and my dad, like, you should have seen his face. He was just like heartbroken. He's like, should we have even done the hip surgery in the first place? Like, he was having guilt, you know, about it. And I said, no, absolutely. Like, the surgery was invaluable for me, at least so far. You know, it all kind of just sucks, and I'm not in the best of moods right now. I'm kind of down. And
like you had bad news when you're hoping for good news.
yeah, exactly. I definitely didn't hear the news I wanted to hear. So I'm just kind of down right now. That's not typically me. I'm not the kind of person who gets down a lot. So we've got some next steps. The next step is a cortisone or steroid shot, and then pain management up until a potential hip replacement. And that's something that I learned is something we're going to try and avoid at all costs. I appreciate all of you guys and your comments over the past few months. It's been really great for me to see how you guys manage your pain and what your friends and family members have done to mitigate and limit the pain that they experience. So thank you for that. We'll keep you guys posted, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.